Hi there and welcome back to the life of Nello. Today we'll talk about Italian Greyhound recall training, and I will give you 10 tips how you can let your Italian Greyhound run off leash without having to worry that they will run away. Let's get started. Yeah, so every time I post a video on Instagram where Nello is running off leash, I receive a lot of comments like, how can you let him run off leash? He's an Italian Greyhound. Aren't you scared he will run away? And I'm like, no, I'm not, because I trained him and I trust him. In my opinion, Italian Greyhounds need to be able to run off leash. It's just their nature. They love running so much, just like other Sighthound breeds. And there's probably not much they enjoy doing more. And yeah, if you never let them run off leash, they just won't be able to go full speed. But of course, you can't just decide one day to let them run off leash. It requires a lot of training. What will you need for Italian Greyhound recall training? The most important thing you'll need is lots of high-value treats. Because you need something to lure your dog back to you. And you can use, for example, ham, cheese, chicken, liver treats. I would recommend something they don't normally get, so it's exciting for them and reason enough to come back. You need a quiet area without any distractions for practice. It's just easier if you have your dog's full attention. You will definitely need a lot of patience, and optional is a long line and a whistle. Alright, so first tip, start with your training sessions the day your puppy arrives, because the sooner you start with them, the better. Puppies will follow you everywhere, it's their instinct, and this is an amazing starting point for your recall training, as you won't have to be afraid they will run away, because trust me, they will just be way too scared alone. Even if your Iggy is not a puppy anymore, it's never too late. You can always work on improving your dog's recall, no matter how old they are. Of course, it is easier when they're younger, but it's never too late. You have to know that once your little puppy hits puberty, it will get harder because some dogs literally forget everything they have learned. But even then, it's super important not to give up and keep on practicing, and I promise you, it will pay off. Tip number 2, use a consistent cue like name plus come and always stick to it.
Nello, hier. Ja, fein. So ist gut, super. Yes, super, Nello. Yes, super.
In our case, it's Nello here, but you can literally use anything. You have to make sure it's always the same. And make it sound the same even when you call them, so they recognize you. So for example, I always use a very high-pitched voice like Nello here. It's always like this. He recognizes it and he will come back because he knows what it means. To make this easier, you can also use a whistle if you want, because a whistle will always sound the same. But of course, you have to keep in mind, if you decide to use a whistle, you will always have to have it with you, otherwise it won't work. So that's sometimes a little bit of a downside, because when you go on a walk and you forgot your whistle, what are you gonna do? Tip number 3, start out by only calling your Iggy when they are running towards you. Don't use the recall cue when your dog is not paying attention, for example, when they're playing or sniffing, because in this case, they will just be way too busy to notice you. And if you call them, even though they are busy, you will only poison the cue. And your puppy will learn that they can just go ahead and ignore you, and nothing bad will happen if they don't and do what you ask them to. So only say that when they are paying attention. And repeat this over several sessions until your Iggy starts getting the hang of it. Tip number 4, and this is a very important one, reward your puppy when they come to you. And you have to really make sure that when they come, when being called, you have to go crazy. Either use high value treats, something, as I said before, they don't normally get, so it will really be a valuable reward. But some puppies will be way too excited outside and won't eat treats. In this case, you can try praising them or petting them instead. Tip number 5, recall training is mostly about the right timing. So that means you need to be faster than your puppy, and when they are off leash, you need to be super attentive and always watch your surroundings. So when you see something, you need to call them before they notice it. And once they do notice it, it will be super hard for them to resist. So be faster and call them back before they see the distraction. Tip number 6, consistency is key. Practice every day for the best results. So yeah, just like it is with puppy training, no matter if it's potty training or recall training or whatever, you have to be super consistent. And yeah, but they're still puppies, so remember to keep your training sessions fun, and I recommend to have several sessions for about 5 to 10 minutes every day. Tip number 7, use a long line or train in a fenced-in area. Okay, so if you don't trust your puppy yet, get a long line. You can get, for example, a long leash that's 10 or 5 to 10 meters long, and it will provide your puppy with some more freedom while still remaining under your full control. Another way for more safety is to start recall training in a fenced-in area until you have built up trust. So maybe you know someone with a big backyard which is completely fenced in, and then you can practice without the worry of them running away. Tip number 8, keep an eye on your puppy's prey drive and know when to leash them. Most Iggy's only have low prey drive that is absolutely controllable. However, there are exceptions, and if you notice that your Iggy finds chasing a rabbit irresistible, I would recommend to keep them leashed in areas where you might come across rabbits or other animals. Tip number 9, never run after your Iggy or try to catch them. And I understand it's very natural behavior, but it will have the opposite effect. Your puppy will only run further away from you, and you might even scare them. So yeah, this might sound silly, but just one bad experience like this can cause your puppy to always be scared to be leashed, and you definitely want to avoid that. Being leashed should be just as normal for the dog as running off leash. So instead, lure them with treats or sounds they normally react to, and when they start running towards you, step back a little bit and make them come to you, and slowly grab their collar or harness and put the leash back on. And tip number 10, last but not least, only let your dog run off leash in safe areas and if you feel comfortable. So no matter how good your Iggy's recall is, can just never be 100% sure. And there will always be situations where your Italian Greyhound may take off and don't want to risk it. If you don't feel comfortable with letting your Iggy run off leash, then don't do it, and keep doing your recall sessions with a long line until you've built enough trust. Alright, so now it's your turn. I would really like to know if you let your Italian Greyhound run off leash and how that is going for you. So leave a comment in the comment section, and I hope to see you in our next video. Bye!